How are y'all doing this morning? Probably like to just start off by saying 20 minutes is not enough for anything. And when I was told this morning that I was going to have 20 minutes to give a conversation, it gets a little complicated in how you cover topics and how you really get deep, I guess, in that. So really when I thought about what we could talk about and what we could get into, I looked back over the last 10, 12 years in business, and I thought about those 2 or 3 minor things that if I would have known earlier, I would have been a lot more successful, maybe quicker, or it would have just led to bigger and greater things. And so I'd like to share those with you. But first, before I give you a little bit of background on myself and before we dig in, how many of you enjoy hiking? Okay, it's a pretty creative group. We like to be outside. How many of you have ever climbed a 14er? You know what a 14er is? It's a 14,000 feet of elevation, or just gone and peaked a summit in some sort of hiking. It's pretty cool. Beautiful views. It's pretty awesome to get up there, right? Okay. So with that in mind, close your eyes, and I want you just to imagine. I want you to think about we're going to climb a mountain. Now, the obvious mountain to climb would be Mount Everest, but I think that's just ridiculous. It's everybody does it. Let's pick a different one. Now, Mount Everest is actually 29,000 feet. Okay, I think United States' tallest mountain is about 14,000 feet, 15,000 feet. We're not going to go after Everest. We're going to go after K2. It's on the border of China and Pakistan. Okay, it is 28,200 feet tall. We're going to climb that mountain today. We're going to plan climbing that mountain today. All right. Now, here's the crazy thing about it, is the death rate is 1 out of every 4 people that try and climb it. And that's why we're going to pick that one, because it's a challenge, it's hard. So envision in your mind, what would you need to do to climb that mountain? Plan it. Think about it. Picture it. You got to know what supplies to bring. You got to be prepared for the worst. You want to bring your camera. You got to think about getting a picture when you're at the top. Plan that. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to think through that. What does it mean to plan that? All right, some of you have gone in real deep and you're thinking about all the supplies you need in your bag, but I want you to think through the whole process. All right, let's put that down for a second. Let me tell you a little bit about me. So as Andy mentioned, I founded an outdoor furniture company back in about 2011. Before that, just an everyday guy, right? Graduated from school, entrepreneur at heart. Loved, when I was a young kid, loved the lemonade stand idea. Went around washing cars, trying to make a buck. It was just all about entrepreneur grind. Grind, find a way to always get things done. That was just who I was. And got out of college, went to work at corporate America, and quickly realized that's not the way I was going to start a business one day. How many of you are an entrepreneur at heart? Just love, okay. How many of you currently own your own business? All right, a few. How many of you want to own your own business one day? Want to work towards that? All right, so we've got a few there. So working in corporate America, it wasn't for me. I wanted to get out. I wanted to start my own business. But I didn't have an idea of what I wanted to do. So after about my 3rd corporate job, my father owned a swimming pool business in Houston. And I thought, I could just go back to Houston, work for him for a little bit, and really just figure out what it is I wanted to do. While I was there, I fell in love with the landscape architecture side of the business. I love designing projects. And we found that there was a need for a product that could go in the swimming pool on the tanning ledge for people to lay out in the water. And that was the moment. That was the moment that I saw a need from a customer. We developed the product, and then all of a sudden we started providing it to our customers. And then before I knew it, of course, this is back in the Facebook days, early days of Facebook, and it just took off. Everybody wanted it. Everybody had to have it. Fast forward, my business is now 200 people. We do over $50 million a year around the world. And I actually just sold the business to a private equity sponsor with a valuation over $100 million. It was just an incredible ride. It's been an incredible opportunity, and it's been a lot of fun. But along that path, I've learned a lot. And they're very, very simple things. Number 1, prioritize your time. It sounds so simple, but let's get deep. Number 2, there's no such thing as an overnight success. We all hear about them. We all think it's true. It's not. We'll talk about that. Number 3, How do you multiply you? What does that mean and why is it important? So number one, prioritizing your time. Everybody talks about goals. You have to set a goal. You have to know what your goals are. You have to strive to those goals, but nobody really talks about why. Why is it important to have a goal? I believe it's actually about prioritizing your time. Guys, I'm not talking about checklists. Checklists are a way of the past, right? We're not talking about prioritizing your day. We're talking about prioritizing everything you do to your goal. Sounds simple, but it's actually very hard. What am I about to do right now, and how does that help me get to the goal? What else could I be doing instead of what I'm doing right now? Size up your opportunities. It's critical. Let me give you an example. We have worked diligently, probably for the last 5 years, to get a business going in Australia. Australia is the second largest pool market in the world. Well, why? Because we just thought it was going to be good to expand our business. When the private equity firms came in and interviewed us, they all asked us what our biggest opportunities were. And we thought, let's tell them about Australia. It's a huge opportunity. We're going to expand our business. Well, after we chose our sponsor and we ended up becoming partners with a private equity group, they came in and they said, look guys, we need to level set and we need to prioritize our time. It's okay, that makes sense. We've already done it. These are the things we want. No. Let's size every opportunity. Well, what do you mean? Well, let's put some numbers to each one. When we looked at Australia, we maybe were going to be able to generate about $2 million in revenue and maybe $200,000 to $300,000 to the bottom line of our business. We had other opportunities on the table where we could add $4 million to the bottom line of our business. Why, for a second, would we focus on growing our business in Australia and not focus on the opportunities that were going to add a whole lot more money to the bottom line of our business here in the U.S.? And that's what I mean. Don't always just chase what you think you need to be doing or what maybe you should be doing, you think you should be doing. Actually take a moment to sit down and focus on, where do I need to spend my time that's going to impact whatever my goal is the best? Very simple, but it's actually pretty deep when you actually think about it and break it down. Number two, multiply you. What does that mean? Well, a lot of people will say, nobody can do it as well as you can do it. And guys, if you believe that, you're not going to get very far in growing a business in life, right? You have to be willing to delegate. And the best way I've heard it said is, if you're 100% and people around you you think cannot do it as well as you, let's just call them 70%. Well, would you rather only have 100 or would you rather have 170? Right? We have to learn to delegate to grow any business. We have to learn how to rely on other people, and we have to learn how to, it's not just a matter of bringing somebody on and saying, I need your help, but bringing on people that are talented and skilled at the things that we need them to go do. Now, this is a hard one. For anybody starting a business, trying to scale a business, I don't have the money, right? That's the common thing. I don't have the money. We can't afford to hire somebody. Hiring somebody, at minimum in today's market is $45,000 to $50,000 a year. I can't do that. I can't afford it, right? But let me start by saying that person does not cost $45,000 or $50,000 a year. That person costs $5,000 the first month, right? And there is a point in time where that person is actually generating, if you're hiring the right person or you're bringing on the right help, they're actually generating the revenue that's going to make up for their cost. And so I challenge you to think about learning how to delegate and knowing that you don't need to hire somebody today. You can go find somebody that can help you 4 hours a week. Can you find an extra $200 to pay them $50 an hour to help you 4 hours a week? And what could you give them that you could otherwise spend that time to make an extra $1,000 a week? To scale your business slowly to a point where you can actually afford to bring on a full-time person. Again, I know it's not rocket science, it's relatively simple, but I think it's one of the struggles that most people have. Is number one, they're not willing to give things to other people and have them go do it. And number two, They don't understand that you just don't have to just go hire somebody. You don't have to just go pay somebody right out the gate a big salary or something to bring them on board. This is critical for my business. Why? It's because we would have not have scaled nearly as fast as we did if we did not rely on other people to help us get there. There's just absolutely no doubt in my mind. And when I look back and people say, how did you do it? How did you create that success? I said, I'm not going to worry about making a bunch of money when I started my business. I'm going to focus more on building a strong foundation. And I literally hired people right out the gate. Every dollar that I could contribute towards these were part-time people that started that I was literally paying a couple hours a week to help me out. And we grew, pay them a couple more hours a week. We grew and I paid them a couple more hours a week. So when I say multiply you, it's relatively easy to do. And just remember, it's not, I got to go pay somebody $40,000, $50,000 a year. I can start small. The one that I think is probably the most fun is there's no such thing as an overnight success. It's an overnight success because today's the day you learned about them and this is where they're at. This is where this person's gotten in business. But you don't hear the backstories, right? Social media has really hurt this one because you see the success immediately when you learn about somebody. Why? Because the time you're learning about them, they've actually put a ton of work in to get there. And I think this is important for all entrepreneurs to know. It takes a lot of time. So let's look at a couple businesses. Tesla. Tesla was founded in 2003. No, Elon Musk did not find Tesla. He actually joined the company in 2004. The first mainstream Tesla vehicle did not come to market until 2012. Right? There was 10 years of struggle. There was 10 years of really, really dedicated, hard work to make it happen. But we don't see that. Right? We only see the success of Tesla. Apple. Apple's a good one. Why? Because Apple was founded in 1976, right? But they did not become mainstream until 1997. That's a long journey. There was a lot of grind and there was a whole lot of work. Then there's this other one, this other awesome company called Video by Robot. Founded back in 2010 and yesterday they celebrated 12 years in business? Can everybody give them a round of a round of applause. I think that's incredible. Guys, where I really wanted to take this is it's relentless diligence that grows a business. And Andy and his team are obviously just a great reflection on that. There's a drive day in and day out to kill it. Now, I think in today's society, a lot of people think about, how do I get rich quick? How do I become successful quick? And I think this is why this topic is so important. Guys, we all know what a long shot is, right? Today, the get rich themes or the build a business quick themes, it's a long shot, right? It's not going to happen. And I don't want to take away that passion or that motivation. But again, I want you to think through where you're spending your time and know that if you're spending your time on a get rich quick or build my business fast theme, make that 5% of your time, not 95% of your time. Because the chances of that are so small and not likely to happen. So again, it's the relentless diligence that is going to lead to the quote-unquote overnight success. So let's go back for a second. Let's go back to that rock climbing adventure that we all set ourselves up for. How many of you saw yourselves at the peak of the mountain and enjoyed the vistas and the views? Anybody? We got a couple people that imagined that, right? Where was everybody else? Where were your heads at? What were you thinking about? Packing. Okay, we didn't get there yet. We didn't get there. Training. Okay, I like that. It's all the upfront planning and preparation. That's awesome. That's what everybody thinks about. Right? Everybody thinks about that. Now, I learned along the way in business through another speaker the idea of a false peak. The reality, guys, is when you obtain that goal and when you get there, it's not over. Whatever it is that you've set out to do, you've accomplished it, And now you stand there at the top of the peak and it's now what? I'm sure you've heard it. If you haven't, it's pretty incredible. 80% of accidents climbing mountains happen on the way down, not on the way up. Everybody plans for the way up, and people do not plan for the way down. They don't think about that. I challenge you to ask yourself, then what? Not now what? When you're planning your goals, when you're planning your future, when you're planning what you want to accomplish in life, then what? What's going to happen after I do that? We hear about athletes, we hear about artists, we hear about all kinds of successful people in life, whether it's an athlete that made multi-million dollars a year every year while he was an athlete or she was an athlete, and then they go on to become bankrupt. Or we hear about artists committing suicide after they, fell out of fame or becoming drug addicts, right? I'm at a point in my career where I have definitely achieved all the things that I imagined that I was going to achieve. And now what? And it's really important that I encourage everybody to think about, then what? What am I going to do after I get there? Because not only is it going to help you after you've gotten there, but it's also going to really, more so than you can ever imagine, help you understand what that goal is, what it means, and it's going to help you achieve it a lot faster. Right? So, not now what, make sure it's a then what. I'm going to leave you with one more thing. This also has hit me very hard. You are here, which means you're not somewhere else. Anything and everything you do every day, you are making a decision to not do something else with your time. I'm here, which means I'm not at work. You're here, which means you're not grinding potentially on your next opportunity or your next deal. Everything you do is sacrificing something else. When I work until 8 o'clock at night, I'm sacrificing 3 hours with my kids. I've got a young family, and I'm sacrificing that time. And so I just encourage you to think, before you go do something, what am I going to do and what else could I be doing with this time? Because I think we get lost in the day-to-day grind all the time, and I don't think we slow down a little bit and stop and think, I'm going to sacrifice something else to be here. Now, I certainly hope that sacrificing your morning this morning to be here, in one of these little nuggets you take away, maybe makes you think about things a little bit differently. Really appreciate your time, and I'm certainly excited to answer any questions in our Q&A.